Welcome chapter at Southborough Library. I'm Venkat Koluri. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Chitika, which started in Westborough, and we also have another spin-off started in Southborough now this year. And this Krosslink idea for the program for Krosslink, this initiative started a sort of couple of years back. Myself, along with a bunch of friends who also started the companies, we started talking about the challenges and the hurdles that we had to go through when we were starting the company way back, 10 years back. And the gist of what we are trying to accomplish here is help solve a problem that aspiring entrepreneurs typically face when they start the journey. You might think that, product is a problem. You need funding. You need customers, you need to get the business off the ground, and you need to do all of those other things that will actually be your biggest problems. But what I noticed, and what others, my colleagues who have started companies have also noticed, is that there is a silent killer that will hit you when you start your entrepreneurial journey. And you know what that is? It is loneliness. You are left on your own. So 12 years back, I quit my corporate job with the goal of starting a company and conquering the world. Very good. Music, bells and whistles, and then I walk in, I have some great launch party. Next day I'm alone in my basement, left to myself. It is so devastating. The loneliness will actually start hitting you so hard that I've seen this happen to me, and I've seen this happen to a lot of other entrepreneurs. And you have to struggle through this loneliness to a point where you start talking to yourself, you start arguing with yourself, and you start demotivating yourself that the idea that you're on to is not worth it, it's not going to work, and then you'll get sidetracked. Luckily, my journey continued, just like other successful business owners' journeys. And we trudged around, and then we see the light at the end of the tunnel. Fast forward 12 years, I've got two businesses, and I've got employees here in Southborough, in Westborough, and in India with offices. I can stand here and then say that, I'm a rock star, so I did it, but actually no. It's the whole community that helped me out. Like anybody will attest to this fact, that it takes a village to grow a child, it takes a whole community to help grow an entrepreneur and make the business flourish. It doesn't have to be a lonely journey. 6 years later, in 2006, 2008, I walked into Shrewsbury Library, and for the first time I saw the public library systems in US. And I was kicking myself. I said, look, libraries are the place for an entrepreneur to be. Right? Why can't we create a system and a program where we'll have aspiring entrepreneurs who can come to the library, be among people, be in a healthy ecosystem where it's about connecting and creating, and use library as a launch pad. And when that idea started, it was just an idea in the back pocket, but I started reaching out to the public libraries, and the library directors and the library committee members said, hey, this is what we also want to do. We want to encourage entrepreneurs to come to the library, mingle with people, with other entrepreneurs, mingle with experts who have already started their businesses and learn from them. And we want to create a healthy, vibrant ecosystem. And that is the crux of the idea behind Krosslink. We want to solve this problem of loneliness that is killing 9 out of 10 ideas that start, and create and use this platform that's already available in each and every community, where there's a library in the community and there are people coming to the library. There is a place for people to come and work. There's a place for people to read. There's a place for people to mingle with other experts, and together everybody can grow. That is Krosslink. And I'm so happy and excited to say that Southborough Library also adopted this chapter, thanks to EDC and Pam And Pam was like, hey, this is exactly, Southborough needs this, we are going to do this. And Southborough Library, Ryan, said, you know what, hey, this is what we want. So, and this is the sort of a reception we are getting for this program. No matter for which library we go to, libraries are opening up. To a point where, in fact, in May, I was invited to the MLA conference in Houston, New England conference, and they said this is an idea that is in line with the future of libraries. There are 16,700 public libraries in the United States of America. And the sad part is, people who are born and raised in the United States of America take them for granted. You all who actually grew up here don't know the power and the value of a public library ecosystem. And when an immigrant like me comes in, and I look around and I'm saying, this is it. This is the place. We don't need to go to a fancy incubator in Cambridge. We don't need to go to a fancy high-tech glasses at all of those places. This is what entrepreneurs want, right? And then why don't we kickstart an initiative where libraries are explicitly standing up, saying what they're already doing. There are a lot of entrepreneurs who individually come and they work quietly in the corners. And when I said, you know what, library is a quiet place. Is it okay to connect and create and make some noise and then let some innovation happen? Each and every library director that I approached said, hey Venkat, gone are the days where we are looking down on people and saying, quiet please. They said, we want people to come here. We want people to come and create and innovate because it will help the whole community. Library is the pulse of the community, and Krosslink is a platform, a program that is ideally is seamlessly sitting on top of the library ecosystems. Shrewsbury Library, Westboro Library, Sudbury, Groton, and Southborough is the 5th one to go live, and I'm so happy and excited, and I thank you all for coming here to help kick off this session. And most importantly, without an organization like EDC standing up saying, you know what, hey, we are going to put our weight behind this. Remember, it takes a whole community to make a business go up and running. Similarly, it takes a whole community for a program to launch. And Pam raised her hand saying, we are going to take the lead on this and we'll create. And when people start standing up, friends of the library are saying, you know what, hey, we will fund you. If you want refreshments, we'll give it to you because we want the same thing that you're also asking for. And then when we started exploring, approaching local business leaders and experts, and they are standing up saying, hey, yes, I would like to come out here and I would like to help others. And in fact, you know what, when we are helping others, we are also getting the help that we want. So that is Krosslink. Thank you so much. And it's not meant to be a program where somebody is standing here and just talking and dishing out the golden mantras. Together, all of us can make this a success. There are hundreds and thousands of other entrepreneurs in Southborough and in neighboring towns who will benefit from what we are starting today here. With that, I'll keep quiet and I will hand over to Pam from EDC, because without Pam, we wouldn't be standing here saying that the 5th center is up and running. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Venkat. I'd like to echo Venkat's sentiment of a big thank you to the Southborough Public Library and to Prudence for approving the refreshments for this event. And as Venkat says, it takes a community to grow a business, and it's very much a labor of love that each and every one of you in my travels has shared with me. And I'd just like to thank you all for taking time from your busy schedules for being here. We have a lot of distinguished members from the state and federal government here. Jack from the Small Business Association for the SCORE program, who's going to make himself available for any of those who would need any technical assistance after this program for any help that they would need in formulating more of a business plan and so on and so forth. John from the Mass Office of Business Development was in traffic tonight, and we want to thank him for being here. And he offers assistance to businesses that are on their feet and more established businesses. But the state very much supports entrepreneurship and small business. And I want to thank him for taking the time out of his schedule to be here. And before we kick off our distinguished speakers, Mark Fallon and David Eagle, I'd like to ask David McKay, our chair of our Economic Development Committee, to come up and say a few words. And thank you for supporting all these efforts that we're working on.
One of the great things about making a great hire is that it makes you look good, and there's very little left to say. I think we've gotten a great introduction already. I'm Dave McKay. I'm chair of the EDC. We were founded about 2 years ago, and our mission is stable residential taxes, and we do that by supporting our business community and helping to nurture and grow our local businesses. So this program fits in exactly with some of the businesses that can often get overlooked in EDC work, especially in larger communities, and that's making sure that not only your larger companies that have the resources are getting the support that they need, but also that smaller companies and entrepreneurs are getting that support too. So you've heard the introduction for our program. I won't delay that any longer, except to encourage you to reach out to me or to Pam or to anyone on the EDC if you think there's any way that the town might help your business to grow and prosper, or you're just not sure if the town might be able to help help you grow your business. Reach out to one of us. We're happy to help you. And if we can't help you, we'll find the folks who can. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Pam, and we'll get this rolling for you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, David, very much. And our first distinguished speaker, I would like to invite Mark Fallon of the Berkshire Company up to the podium to talk to us about his journey and his business.
I'm Mark Fallon. I'm president of the Berkshire Company. But before we get started, we're going to have a raffle at the end of the day, right, to support all of this. And we have some magic dice that we're going to give away at the end. So if you have a business card, drop it in. If you forgot yours, or you're just starting your business and don't have them yet, there's a pen and blank business cards in the bag. So I'm going to pass it this way, Dave. So, what is the Berkshire Company? We are management consultants, and we specialize in the print and mail industry. And yes, there is still print, and yes, there is still mail. We work with companies that are sending you your bills, your policy statements, your explanation of benefits. We review their operations. We help them choose new technology, new processes, and new partners. And we started in 2001, and so far we've worked with over 50 companies, government associations, and colleges and universities. Myself and my business partner have over 70 years in the industry. So it's not all me. I haven't been around for 70 years, but the two of us combined have. One of the ways that I market my business, I'm going to talk about marketing in a bit, is speaking at industry events. So there are a lot of mailing industry associations around the country, and I go around and speak at those events. For the last 20 years, most of that speaking has been upon really exciting things like the Postal Regulatory Commission, the Domestic Mail Manual, quality control, very exciting stuff, budgeting, even more exciting information. But over time, I started giving talks on networking, on mentoring, and on basically self-motivation. So I've started a second company on markfallon.com, which is my public speaking website. And on that, I also have a motivational blog called Little Lessons, hashtag Little Lessons. You have to have a hashtag in 2015. And we publish a weekly blog on that. I'm listing my certifications because if you're going to start a business, this is something you should consider. So my industry certification, which is very important in my industry, is I'm a certified mail and distribution systems manager. That probably means, does anybody else here know what that means? Great, so I can make it. No. It's the highest certification in my industry. So for my industry, that's really important. I'm also a veteran, and I'm a service-disabled veteran, so I'm certified as a service-disabled veteran. If you're a veteran, there are a lot of opportunities for you. I'll mention those later, but getting your certification is really important. So if you're starting up, there's several plans, and I'm sure my score friend will correct me if I'm wrong. The first is your business plan. And we're actually in a great space to talk about where you can find information. This place right here, the library, probably has business plans that you can access that are probably better than some of the ones you're going to find on the internet unless you go to a very reputable site. So you need a business plan which talks about who are going to be your customers, what are you going to sell, who is going to be your support team, how are you going to get funding. All of that goes into your business plan. And it's really important to have one. You can't skip this step. If you do not have a plan, as the saying goes, failing to plan means you're planning to fail. The next important plan is your marketing plan. And there's traditional marketing, which still works. We were talking earlier about commercials. If you're going business to consumer, there's advertisements in local papers. There's a lot of traditional ways of marketing. And you have to think about who is your target market. So for example, my business cards are not the ones, because they're a marketing device, these aren't something that you buy online for $20 for 500 of them, right? These are printed at a real printer, a local printer, Curry Printing, right on Route 9, on a real offset press. Why do I spend the extra money? Well, I work in the printing industry. My customers know when they touch this card that it's for real. So you have to think about who is your market. The next is your website. If you're going to have a website, I recommend you invest in it. This is your business. This is not something you pay your niece who's in high school, maybe $50 to set up a website for you on GoDaddy, which is a great hosting site, but you need something very professional. So invest in the money and find support in doing that. Next, on your website, you're going to have a blog. If you're going to have a blog, it has to be, Pam's already smiling. If you're going to have a blog, it has to be consistent. So I update my blog at least every other week on the Berkshire Company website and on markfallon.com at least 3 times a month. When Pam was looking, Chris recommended that I come speak at this. Pam's like, well, who is Mark Fallon? She went to the Berkshire Company website, and the first thing she went to wasn't about the Berkshire Company, wasn't my bio, it was my blog. And she looked at the posting date, and it only was a week old. So she said, okay, he's legit. So people are going to do that. They're going to go to your blog, see if you're writing regularly, and if you aren't, if your last blog post is 2010, you're not legit. So if you're going to blog, do it. And then, of course, social media. Are you going to have a Twitter account? Are you going to have a Facebook page? And if you're business to business, do you have an active LinkedIn account? For me, I find that the most important part of social media when you're in selling businesses to businesses. And lastly, you need a sales plan to go along with all of this that gets regularly updated. So there's a lot of planning that you have to do. So some of the challenges, I appreciate so much of what was said at the beginning about the challenges you overcome. The first thing you have to know that all of those plans that you did, none of them will work right off the bat, right? Nothing is going to go according to plan. All those customers are not going to show up on day 1. All of those sales are not going to happen on day 2. And by day 3, you're going to be all alone in the basement. Or I was fortunate, I had a 3-season porch, and it was a very cold spring, so that was interesting. But things aren't going to go as planned, and you have to be prepared for that. And one of the things I always fall back on, Bob Howard was a Special Forces soldier in Vietnam. He was actually nominated for the Medal of Honor twice. However, you're only allowed to receive the Medal of Honor once. And he used to tell his soldiers, no matter how bad a situation, you have to ask yourself, what do I do now, right? What is something positive, which is what I'm going to add to it, that I can do now? What can you do? If somebody says no, and they're going to say no, what's the next thing you can do? Maybe you can at least stay in touch with them. Maybe you can call somebody else. Maybe you can come to the library so you're not alone anymore. But you have to take positive action. Not just action, positive action. Even if it means just doing something that makes you feel good. If you have a friend who makes good ice cream and good steaks, go to their house, right? Go do something positive. It's really important to do that because it's you. Even if you have a team, if you're the leader, it's your business, it's you. You have to stay positive. So that you aren't alone, there's two networks you need. A professional network and a personal network. And I'll do the professional first. I find that the person I needed from day one on a professional side was a certified public accountant. And a CPA is so important on setting up your books correctly from day one. Because if you don't have a CPA on day one, I'm not going to say that's what I did, but that's what I did. When you do find that CPA, you have to go reset everything up and do a lot of re-entry. It's very important. I do pay my taxes. I have no problem paying my taxes, but they're not always to figure out if you're a corporation. Having a CPA handle that is just so important. You may or may not need a lawyer to set up your company. The rules change on corporate filings. Do you want to be an LLC? Do you want to be limited partnership? Do you want to be an S corporation? What's the right setup for you? A good attorney can help you with that. A sales coach, another person I wish I had from day one. I meet regularly with the sales coach who reviews what I'm doing and make sure it actually makes sense. And how to keep myself motivated for that next round. Do you have internet marketing support for regular on time? Now I'm very fortunate. I'm married to somebody who is an internet marketing expert, but she has a full-time job that pays her, so she can't be there full-time for me. But I found other people as well. So I have somebody who designed my website. That's what they do professionally. And when I have questions, I can reach out to them. But the internet is so important. Score, I did use from day one. Score, one of the first things I did when starting my company, before I actually went live, I took my business plan, I went to an all-day Score event in Boston, sat down with a Score executive. First, he was all excited. That was one of the people that had a written business plan. Then he told me what was wrong with every part of my business plan. It was so helpful. It was truly one of the best days I did in prep for starting my company. And if you're a veteran, there are a lot of different ways for support for veterans. The American Legion has something dedicated to entrepreneurs who are veterans. There are funding opportunities by veterans for veterans. So if you're a veteran and you want to talk about that afterwards, I can talk to you about some of the ways, and I know that there are other veterans here as well that can talk about those. Now what's really important is your support network. Again, I could not have started this business without the support of my wife. If you have a spouse or significant other, they need to be on board with your dream, right? I was an executive at a Fortune 100 company. I was making a really good salary. As my father pointed out to me, why are you giving up a good salary? I had a great bonus plan. So I went from all of that to zero. Zero, right, on day one. If your significant other is not behind that idea, you're in trouble, right? Because both of you are going into it. Next is your family. My parents have been with me, well, actually since I was born. Isn't that cool? They were there when I was born, and they stayed with me, and they stayed with me through this journey. So that's really important. Family might be a source of funding for you. I suggest you look at banks first. Banks don't get upset with you, right? They may file lawsuits against you, but they don't send you nasty letters, right? That's a joke, okay? Right? How many of you have families? Good, everybody's awake. But you need your support of your family. And then your friends, because when things go wrong and you need a shoulder to cry on, and your spouse has been listening to this since day one, and your family's been listening to this, having somebody else who will listen to this and help you through it is so important. And there are friends of mine, both in the industry and outside the industry, who have been there. I attend this big event in our community called the National Postal Forum, and on Tuesday night, I have the Friends of the Berkshire Company dinner. Some are clients, and some are just people who have been with me from day one. And we dedicate a lot of time and a lot of effort just to recognizing the support of those friends. Then your professional network, people who are going, I talked about LinkedIn, but also other people in the industry you can reach out to, and then mentors. You should know who your mentor is. And you should have one. And you should have probably 2 or 3, depending upon what it is you're trying to do. And lastly, so I'm right at 14 minutes. How was that? I was always given 15 minutes, so I had this at 14 and a half. And the last part is, this is just a business. Now, you are going to spend more waking hours on this business than you will do anything else. You will be up late at night, you will be up early in the morning, you'll be working all day Saturday, you'll be working all day Sunday. Most of the time. You need to make sure that you dedicate time to refresh yourself and to remember why you're doing all of this work. We make sure we spend time every year away from our house, right? Doesn't have to be a big trip somewhere. This is this year. We went up to Maine, got a cottage, and every morning, I will admit, an hour on the laptop answering emails. That was from 6:30 to 7:30. But then it was on the deck, cup of coffee, brought 5 books with me. I read 3. That's not bad, right? For 1 week. And just enjoyed myself. Because it's not your life. It's just a business. That's really important to remember. Remember why you're doing that. I know we're going to have like informal mingling later, but are there questions about what I said? Anybody disagree with what I said? Did anybody stay awake? Claire?
I'm just curious, what is the draw to go from a good job, good pay, good bonus plan, as you said,
Oh, absolutely. It was great.
to nothing?
To nothing.
Yes.
So,
Just to piggyback on that, Claire, I had the same question, but where'd you find the courage? You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a lot of courage, I think, to go from that, salary and bonus and all that framework, existing financial framework, to literally nothing but your dream. Like,
Right.
how do you make that leap?
What was your state of mind?
Yeah, how do you make that?
well, that was where my father was. So I always like to tell the story. And my father's passed on since then, but he never minded me telling the story because it was the absolute truth. And I knew I wanted to tell my parents, and I knew I had to tell my mother first, right? And then tell my father, because that's the right order of doing things in my family. So I kept reading the Woburn Times obituary page, and when I saw somebody die that I knew I knew he'd be at the afternoon wake, right? Was an Irishman. Come on, there's at least one other Irishman who knows what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
So I knew I could go up. So I went up, showed my mother. My mother doesn't care. She's a dream pusher. She got all excited, and then she said, "He's not going to understand." She didn't say your father, she just said he. We knew who he meant. He never took a risk. He had 10 kids. He had no way he was going to take a risk. He had to have a job with them. And when he came home, I told him, he's like, "Don't you have a really good salary?" "Yep." "Didn't you get a really," and I did share with him how much my bonus was last year. He's like, "Yep." "Why do you want to do this?" "Well, I have always wanted to have my own business. I don't know why, it's just something I've always wanted to have. I love the mailing industry. That may sound strange to those of you who aren't in it, but whatever it is you love, I'm sure it's strange to me, whatever it is that you love. But I love what I do." And I thought I was going to have to wait till I was probably 60 and have a nice huge nest egg and maybe my mortgage paid off to do it. But in the year 2000, everything came together. There's 2 large organizations or large conferences, Mailcom and the Postal Forum. At both of them, I was recognized as the industry person of the year. There's 2 trade magazines, Mailing Systems Technology, I know, you're really exciting, Mail Magazine, and Document Magazine. I was on the cover of all 3 in 1 year. Now, even though I was younger, I wasn't even 40 yet, the odds of that happening again were slim to none. So I figured I could build upon all of that free publicity and then start my business. Because I was recognized as an expert. By the way, it didn't work. First year, nobody cared about the covers. I could have waited till later, but I'm glad I didn't. Where you find the courage, I could probably ask everybody here, it's something you want to do, so you do it. And if you believe in yourself, and again, I never stopped saying, I had a great support team. When I pitched the idea to my wife, she's like, absolutely. So what's your state of mind? in 2000.
Well, actually, I have a question for someone who may be younger in the audience and may not have a significant other or a house to literally bet the house on.
Right.
How does that person get started?
Well, so that's, if, again, I was betting my house on it, literally betting the house on it. When you take out a second mortgage, that's what you do. You don't have to wait until you're 40 or 50 or 60 or 30. I'm not sure how old you were 12 years ago, to start your own business. But if you are going to need funding, and either you're going to be able to live with somebody who's going to pay the rent, which is what I did, or be able to get funding from a bank or somebody, an investor who believes in you. But you still have to have all those other things that I talked about. And that doesn't make a difference on your age. It really doesn't. Okay?
So
Yes, sir.
I'm sure in this journey, you had a zillion moments where you had second thoughts.
Oh yeah, still do.
So what are the tips and tricks that we can share that worked for you when people run into the second thoughts and holy cow, what am I doing? What did I walk into? You keep running into those again and again and again.
So, right, you are going to have down moments, and you're going, even when you're doing this and doing really well, you think maybe I should sell this, right? And you find yourself going to monster.com and seeing what jobs are out there, right? You're laughing because you've done it, right? This is what's great. And this is why having something like Krosslink, I think, is really important, because this is just a kickoff, but we should be doing this regularly with folks. But you do end up going to monster.com and you start looking at what jobs are available in addition to the ones at McDonald's. And by the way, I did look at the ones at McDonald's. Been a cook, right?
And you want to have a mentor.
And you want to have a mentor.
And you can do it, and you can build the whole thing all the way up to what he's talking about. But you don't have to do all that stuff without the help of someone.
Right.
And there's people who will help you for free to take you every step of the way, and as you build momentum, and help you make the decisions. You make the decisions, but help you look at the decisions objectively in terms of what the different aspects of it are, what the risks are, what the rewards are, and look at it objectively. And that's one of the things that's so important, because friends will support you, but they may not be supporting you objectively. They support you because they love you.
Right.
And so having someone who gives you a perspective, and whether it's devil's advocate or just more objective, is critical. So you can start with that and work together to get to where Mark's talking about.
And that's where SCORE comes in real handy, but that's where a coach comes in real handy. That's where different support groups come in handy, because if you try to just do it by yourself, especially in those dark times, you may fail. It's not guaranteed, but when you have all those support people who are going to be both truthful and supportive, right? My sales coach right now is my number one, not just a cheerleader. She points out a lot of things I do wrong, but when I have second doubts about what I'm doing, she points out all of my other successes and what I've done so far. So that's really important. But it's good to have second doubt, because if you don't second guess, you're just going blindly forward. Sir?
I have a question about your professional support network that you have up there.
Yes, sir.
So how do you go about selecting some of them, like a CPA or an attorney? Do you interview them?
I did. I went around and interviewed. I fortunately knew a lawyer, so that lucked out. But a CPA, I didn't know a CPA. And so I went and interviewed 3 different CPAs until I found the one that I knew I could work with. Right? It wasn't just that they have those little CPAs. The person who has the lowest passing score still has CPA, right? It's who are you going to be comfortable. Remember, you're going to hand over your business books and your personal income books over to somebody. So it has to be somebody you trust. So I went through the local town directory of who was in the town, and then also started looking at some of the larger firms. And I used to live in the South Shore, so I chose a firm in Norwood, but I interviewed, the 3rd interview. It was kind of one of those Goldilocks moment, right? The first CPA, when I shook his hand, when I got my hand back, I counted my fingers because I thought he took something. The second CPA had a mustard stain on his shirt, right? This is somebody I want attention to detail. But I mean, that's important. And his desk was a mess, right? The third one didn't have a tie on, which I love ties, but I think, I'm one of two people wearing a tie tonight, so I had to get over that. But he started pointing out things that I should be doing. He said, before we even sign anything, have you done X, Y, and Z? And if you haven't, you need to do those. I mean, he was helping me before I paid him a dime. So I knew this is who I want to work with, and I've been with him for 15 years. Sales coach, again, I interviewed somebody, and she interviewed me. It was back and forth. She wasn't sure she wanted to take me on as a client. The internet marketing support, the first two companies that designed our first two websites, fortunately had done business with my wife's much larger company, so they had a reputation. The third, I went through my hosting company, HubSpot, and interviewed several people there as well. But I interviewed them just like people interview me. Score, you get whoever's there. But they're usually really good.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Yeah. So, okay, so you already know. I mean, don't have a problem saying that. Okay? Pam? Thank you.
Let's do later, it'll be more
Okay.
broad amongst everyone.
There's lots of pizza back here.
Yes,
Okay.
there's lots of pizza. And I just want to thank Mark for sharing intimate details of his labor of love and his career and family life at that with us. That's very impressive, and we appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. And with that, I'd like to introduce David Eagle of Eagle Leasing to share his journey on his company. And thank you for being here, David.
No, thank you, Pam. So I'm not wearing a tie, and I'm not a public speaker, so it's hard to go after such a wonderful job Mark did. But I think I give a little unique perspective on starting a business from scratch, building a business, being rooted in the community. A lot of things have happened to Eagle Leasing since I became a member of the company. A little history of our company. It's a family business. We're out on Route 9. I'm sure pretty much everyone drives past us for years and kind of wonders what we do, not really sure what we do. The company started back actually in the late 60s. My father and his two brothers started the business. They were trailer salesmen. They repped a manufacturer of these tractor trailers that you see going down the highway. So as companies would buy new trailers, these guys were the ones that would sell these companies the new trailers. And my dad was a salesman in the Boston area, and my uncle was a salesman in the Connecticut area. And they repped a manufacturer. So it could be a Coca-Cola, or it could be a factory like General Electric could be buying new equipment. And so the family got their start in the trailer business that way. As they sold trailers, in some cases they took the old trailers, because companies would trade in their old jalopies and get brand new trailers. The factories didn't want this stuff. So my dad and his brother would take these trailers as trades, as their commission, and they would then rent them out as storage trailers. So they had a little side business going, but primarily for years and years they were in the trailer sales business. And I had just started college at UMass, and they had decided to quit the manufacturing, the selling of trailers, and combine their trailers. One guy had 25 trailers, the other guy had 35 trailers, and they combined the two into one big company, and we called it Eagle Leasing, or they called it Eagle Leasing, and they went strictly in leasing. They stopped working for the man. They wanted to own their own business, like Mark made that decision, and it was a gamble on both of their parts. heck, they didn't really know what they were doing. I mean, they always work, when you work for a company for so many years, you take so much for granted, like employee welfare and your retirement and stuff, and all of a sudden, things change, and all of a sudden you have to think for yourself, and you have to make those decisions, you have to make those, create partnerships with banks and so forth. But what they did have is they had the basic knowledge of that trailer business. So I was I was at UMass in Amherst, and they were renting trailers, and at the time they were very paranoid about other companies that do what they do. They didn't want, if they rented a trailer to a company, they didn't want their competitor to see that an Eagle trailer was at that factory. So they put a little decal on the front of the trailer that was about the size of a grapefruit. And you had to literally stand right in front of the trailer maybe 3 feet away to actually read that it was an Eagle leasing trailer. And I remember one day I was up at UMass, and I was walking to class, and I passed one of our trailers, my dad's trailer. They had rented the school a trailer during some construction. And I went up to it, and I looked at that little decal, and I said, darn it, if I ever start working for this company, the last thing I want to do is to have a little footprint. I want to have a big footprint. I want people to know who I want people to see that and be proud of what they see, and they want to get one for themselves. So sure enough, things happened. My dad had said, I had big plans when I was in college that, I was a business major and I had an economics degree, and I really thought that I was going to work in Wall Street or do some finance job. And all my friends were interviewing for these big consulting jobs, big factory jobs, and so forth. And my dad kept on pushing me to work at Eagle Leasing. And he says, "You really got to give it a shot." And I'm like, "Dad, it's kind of like no one knows Eagle Leasing, Dad. I went 4 years to college. It's really not the coolest thing." Well, guess what? Sometimes the coolest thing isn't the best thing. And so I gave him 6 months. I said, "Dad, I'll do you a favor. I'll work for you for 6 months." And so I graduated college. I came to work. It was right at the time that they weren't on Route 9, but they were, I don't know how long some of you have been in town, but they used to be where the post office is, and that strip mall, town center. There used to be an old trucking company there. This was back in the 80s. And so my dad had rented a little office for him and one truck driver. That was the office. And then my uncle, who was the other part of the company, he did the same thing down in New Haven, Connecticut. He had one guy in one office, and that's all. And they worked the phones, and they put little ads in the yellow pages, because that's how people marketed their business back then. They didn't have the tools that you guys all have. And Mark discussed all the ways that we could market ourselves through social media and so forth. Those guys did it the old school way. So I went to work for them. It was a struggle. We struggled. We tried different things. Of course, we were a trailer leasing company. If you look at our logo, that big logo, you'll see it shows a picture of a trailer, because that's where the company started, in the trailer business. But we've morphed over time. I've been there 33 years, and one of the things I would suggest anyone that's starting a business is to understand that the business does change. And one of the best words someone once told me was the word pivot. Now, pivot is an important word, because it really means if you're focused on one direction and it's not going the right way, pivot. Go where the action is. If you have an idea for a business and it's not really working, maybe you just need to tweak it just a little bit and go maybe take this path. Because by my company pivoting, we decided back in the 80s, when I first started to work for the company, the bottle bill went into effect. And when the bottle bill went into effect, all the liquor stores and the supermarkets, they all had to bring back these empties, and people were freaking out. What are you going to do with the empty beer bottles and the soda bottles? All these stores weren't prepared for it. So we got the idea, let's get these containers. We'll get them from the shipping lines. No one was doing it back then. And we'll rent them out to the liquor stores and the supermarkets and all these places because no one wanted, they were so worried about the dirty bottles in the store. Everyone was petrified. Nowadays, there's a whole industry that manages that. But back then, it was new to everyone. Massachusetts was one of the first states in the whole country that had the bottle bill, so there was no blueprint to go by. The companies were really panicking. So we decided, you know what? Let's put an ad in the business in the they called it the liquor guide or the liquor journal. It's the Bible of the liquor stores. It's where they go to, all the liquor stores have when they need to order a bottle, whatever. They go to this manual, they find out who the distributor is, and boom, there's an e-leasing ad for a box. Now, we started off as a trailer leasing company. We decided we saw a market niche, and we went with it. And to this day, it was the best move we ever made because right now, the way our company's made up is that we have about 75% of our business is now containers, and only 25% of our business is trailers. In fact, we've bounced around the fact that maybe we should change our logo. My dad wasn't that thrilled about doing that years ago, so we kind of tabled that. But it's really important to be able to kind of morph your business and also allow yourself to fail. Allow yourself to fail, because there's a great book out there called Startup Nation. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Startup Nation. It's a wonderful book. It's about the state of Israel. And one of the things about the state of Israel, the economy there, they have an enormous amount of entrepreneurship there, like an immense amount. People are starting businesses, and it's an amazing environment. Even a lot of high-tech companies from the West Coast in the Palo Alto area have moved out, have offices there like Google. There's a lot of smart people there, and a lot of it has to do with, it's based in the fact that they give so much emphasis on the young there, where they all have to serve in the military. They give them a lot of independence, gives them the ability to gain it gives them the ability to get the support they need to, if they think of a business, they could try it. They've managed people in the Army when they're 18 years old, certainly by the time they're 20 or 21, where in the United States, you're just getting in college. These kids there have handled weapons, they've been in the military, they've managed people, excuse me. And so these guys are prepared to take a risk. And they train these kids in the Army to also be prepared to fail. In other words, don't worry about making a mistake, because if you make a mistake, you'll learn from that mistake. So even though there's a great environment there for entrepreneurship over there in Israel, the book tells you that a lot of these guys fail. A lot of companies will fail, but they just get right back up and start another one, because they have the mentality that it's okay to fail. They've been trained, they've been taught that. So excuse me. So it's okay. So, and I think that's a lot to do with Eagle Leasing. I find that we've tried, we've failed, we've made stupid decisions. We've pivoted, we've gone a different route. It's okay. It's really okay to not think right out of the chute that this is the company that I'm going to have for the next 20 years. A lot of times things change. You know how they say stuff happens, right? So, and it does. But I think that in the case of Eagle Leasing, we have grown the company, we have morphed the company, and it's been a really wonderful experience. the company has grown. We have a place near Oxford now. We have over 140 employees now. We have 14,000 units. We do a tremendous amount of social media, Facebook and Twitter. My younger brother Mark, he handles all our social media, and I agree with Mark totally. If you don't stay up with your social media, you're doomed. You got to stay on top of it. People look at that. It's really important. And so we try to think, what the next generation is going to anticipate, what they're going to need. Because I'm 55 years old, and I don't want to think like a 55-year-old. I want to think like a 25-year-old, because that's my market. That's my future market. That's who I want to be. I'm not focusing on the people my age. So you don't necessarily want to focus on, a lot of entrepreneurs are already young. That's their group. But for people in my age group, a lot of companies do suffer because they don't realize who their customer base are. They get caught up in their old ways, and they don't know how to transition over to a newer generation. So that's also very important. So I don't know if I've been able to help out. I certainly don't have, I can go on and talk more about Eagle Leasing, but I'm here really to help and try to answer any questions you guys have about developing a business. And business plan is important. Like Mark said, very important. I've had a lot of our customers, because we do a lot of charity work where we rent equipment out to charitable foundations for fundraisers, for storing this or that, and people will come to me and say, I have a business idea. Would you take a look at my business plan, or take a look at an idea that I have? And I said, well, let's start with a business plan. Let's, because a lot of people don't realize that that's really the first step. And Mark's correct. You have to have a path. So we sit down and we go through the business plans, and there's a lot of good ideas on the internet, and also here in the library that people can gain access to and get that stuff done. So thank you for inviting me. I wish I could, I just got over a cold, that's why I'm kind of suffering here. But if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to help out. Yes?
So one of the things I was impressed with when we first met is the number of people you knew that were coming in the door, right? So you've obviously spent a lot of time being an active member of the business community or the community. And I was wondering how you relate that to business.
Well, you never know who your customers are going to be, right? So we were talking, I think Chris and I were talking beforehand, and we were talking about, you never know who you're going to talk to. I'm lucky enough to live in Southborough, work in Southborough. I've been here for 30 years almost, and so, but you never know who's talking, who you bump into on the street. You'd be surprised how many people if you have an idea for a business, you'd be surprised how many people that you wouldn't think would use your business would be able to utilize your business. I just bought a car just a few days ago, and I was at the dealership, and I just happened to be mentioning to him my business, and he's like, "Oh yeah, definitely. Give me your card. I get all these tires that I got to store." Like, great. My accountant was so excited. At least I'll pay off some of the car now. So you never really know. I mean, the only people that we don't really do business with are lawyers and insurance companies. Other than that, everyone else is fair game. So you want to try to keep whatever business that you create. You want to try to, not really typecast your business to only a certain industry. We have a very wide range of customers. We do business with schools and factories and retail stores and, places like, we do all those Hollywood movies that get shot in Boston. We do all those things because they store. We have a yard in Northborough that's got 5 movie sets of all these movies that have been filmed, because they have to store them after they film in case they have to reshoot the scenes. So we do that stuff. We do a lot of colleges. We do, you name it, we do. We have, the Boston Garden's our customer, Foxborough Stadium. We have a bunch of stuff down there. I mean, so we kind of get ourselves going, and we spread ourselves out. And again, we come back to that first thing we talked about is exposure. And when we went from that little tiny decal, and now if you see our stuff now, we've got decals on all the corners, and everyone knows who we are. And we trademarked that term, you see us everywhere, because truly that was an important part of an important marketing tool for us. And it was a good way, it was a good icebreaker too for customers. Like, oh, I see your stuff everywhere. It's funny that you got that name. It's it goes right with the company. So it's important to market it yourself. Social media, because social media is really great. You know, Facebook and Twitter and some of the other things. You know, like Google Analytics are fantastic for us. We do a tremendous amount of work. You know, we used to spend $200,000 a year just in Yellow Page ads, and we don't spend anything now on Yellow Page ads. So of course we morphed over. We were one of the early adopters of this whole internet advertising thing. I always got frustrated with these Yellow Page ads because every year they would come to see me and say, okay, our price only went up 15% over last year, and we'd be like, oh, okay, you know, we'd have to pay it because where else are you going to go? Back in the 80s, that was it. Then the internet came out, and all of a sudden Yahoo and Google and, you know, and other places, and then of course you had Facebook and Twitter. So Yellow Pages are gone, pretty much. They're gone. But you know, we stayed ahead of the game, and to this day, we spend a ton of money on Google Analytics. It's an important part of our business. People reach for that internet. They look. They want to see. You know, a company's vibrant. They want to see a vibrant website. I know Mark touched on the fact that you have to make sure you spend some extra dough on your website. I totally agree. Anyone in this room that's ever gone to the website to look for a business, it could be an exterminator. If you go to their website and it looks kind of archaic, you're like, these guys are probably made that up in their basement. And you know, when you go to a site and it's got really professionally well done, and it doesn't really cost a lot of money to do that. It's not a huge difference in cost. You'd have to just take the time, because anyone could throw a website together for an entrepreneur, but they don't really know your business unless you really sit down with them and go page by page and how it's going to look when they search for a certain word. What page are they going to land on that's going to give the most emphasis and make you look the best? And then you can get into things like you know, placement, you know, paying for placement on search engines and stuff. But really, the website is critical for the business. I can't tell you how many people have called us saying, I'm on your website. Okay, so how much is this? How much is this? Because what we don't do on our website is we don't give prices. It's too difficult to give prices in my business, because a lot of times people will need a box for 1 month, they'll need a box for 1 year. So there's a lot of different variables. I don't want to start putting prices, because then we have to always address them and adjust them. So it forces them to call us. But they see a lot of pictures, and they see a lot of explanation of what kind of stuff and where we service. In fact, so much so that we get calls from California and Texas. It's almost too much advertising, because almost every time we could tell that southern accent. When someone calls, you know, I need a box in some crazy town, and we're like, that's not New England, is it? And they're like, no, it's in it's in Nebraska or in Alabama, or no, we don't service that area. But it's nice to know that the Eagle Leasing name, when people search, that's coming up. Even though we say we service New England, you know, we don't try to pretend like we don't. We service New England. We say it right in the ad, but we spend so much time and effort on creating that ad that it's risen up in the search, and people just see Eagle Leasing and they happen to like maybe the ad or the web page or what they're looking for, and they call us. And so website's really important, and you know, branding's very important. We're very much into branding. If it's a product that you guys are thinking about launching, or a service, branding, a logo, very important. Create something that people can identify with, and it'll last forever. Yes, Chris.
Yeah, I think both of you have said a couple of things that are being reinforced that we're hearing more about. It's the community that has a place where you can network, the young talent that are going to be the startup people who get businesses going. One of the big advantages of walkable communities is that people are close together and they can access the amenities, but also speak with each other. This library, being the center of entrepreneurs, is a great way to enhance the vitality, the entrepreneurship, and the economic wellness of the community in the long run. Because the towns that don't have that, I mean, I go to Starbucks, and I can't tell you how much networking goes on in that little place. It's got the right environment, but it's towns and cities, their ability to attract young talent, because they're all moving to the city. They want to be around that camaraderie and youthful entrepreneurial spirit. And so how do we replicate that here to sustain art in the town?
It's important. I mean, I know, like I said, it's I've been lucky enough to be involved in I first moved to town. The first thing I wanted to do was support the Little League. Now, when I moved to town, the Little League wasn't even around. They just created Little League. I mean, that's how long ago this was. But I came from Newton, where I grew up, and they had a very established Little League program. And I said, I'm gonna donate a container. I was rah, and in fact, that container's still down at that Mooney Field. But so that thing's probably been there 25 years. But I wanted to get entrenched in this town. I wanted to be able to network because I knew that this was a way to build roots here and also spread at least the Eagle Leasing gospel and let people know who we were. And even though we donated a box and didn't charge them, look how many people have seen it. Look how many dads have pulled bats and balls out of that thing, and they probably own businesses themselves, and when they need something or if someone in their company needs something, they look back. And so things like that really go a long way. Yes, Dave?
Dave, one of the things that Mark mentioned was a sales coach and how important that has been to his business. And I sort of have thought of that more often as kind of something in the infancy of the business, but a lot of people do work with a coach kind of throughout. Have you, and how has that been an important part of your?
We have gone to some sales trainings, and they've given us great. We did a couple Sandler sales trainings, and they've been really good. We went to maybe 2 or 3 huge seminars where they really taught us, the art of selling. In my business, it's a lot of it is just relationship building, and we find that if you get the right person, we have in our company we have probably 4 salespeople on the road. Most of our business is we take in business, incoming calls. But at the beginning, it wasn't like that. It was just me and my dad and a truck driver. So I was just on the road. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, other than I was just passing out cards. And that's when we got into some of those Sandler meetings. But the important thing was the meetings that we would have amongst ourselves, where we would the 2 of us, and then we would go to Connecticut, and they would have a similar situation down in Connecticut with their own operation, and we would kind of like meet at a restaurant and hash out all the headaches and all the war stories that we both have been going through, and that was a great learning, because sometimes you think you're by yourself, you're an island, and they got similar situations down in Connecticut. But yeah, for us, to answer your question, the Sandler programs were excellent for us. It taught us how to kind of like push people, ask them, what their pain was, and create doubt on if they're using someone else other than Eagle Leasing, what they would see in a company what they see in their company that maybe they would like to improve, and we kind of would work off that. But it helps. But a lot of times it's you have to just do it yourself. In our case, it wasn't. We didn't rely on it as much as some other companies will. Yes.
Were you one of the guys on the roof?
Yes. Yes, I'm still standing.
That
Yes.
stuck with me.
Right. Okay. See. So we have a commercial. We had a commercial for a few years, and my brother and I, and we filmed it out on our place on Route 9, and it was, you know, it was great. It worked out great. We ran it for a few years. We ran the same ad in Connecticut, and they got a kick out of it for a different reason down in Connecticut, because they claimed that, oh, I love those two guys with those thick Boston accents, you know, which we don't realize we have, right? Until they film it and they show it in a New Haven television station. And so down in my Connecticut office to this day, they say, yeah, we love those guys with the Boston accents doing those ads, you know. But they work out good. And again, it's, you know, it's for branding purposes. You know, we don't expect people to pick up the phone and call us and say, you know what, I've been thinking that I want to rent a big tractor trailer. Now I know where to go, because it's not an impulse buy. So we hope that that when they do need our services, they really do need it, and they're like either they work in a warehouse and they all of a sudden they see the freight coming in, they got no place to put it, or if they work at a CVS store and the freight's coming in for Christmas and they got no place to put the stuff in the aisles, they call Legal Leasing. They remember, they type it in, they see that name. It's really important. I would suggest you guys spend, anyone that's starting a business now, I suggest getting that brand, getting that logo, and stick with it. Because you know, and it doesn't have to be some crazy catchy name either. It just, you know, I'm a visual person, so you know, it doesn't have to be the long drawn out name and fancy title. Just that oval to me is everything. You don't even have to know the name. You just see the oval and people recognize it and they know it's us. So, you know, pick something and stick with it. Yeah, a color setup or whatever, and it's important, and you'll build your business tremendously. Anyone else? So now you know a little bit about Eagle Leasing. Now you won't say, "What the heck do those guys do?" So you know, we went about 10 or 15 years totally under the radar on Route 9. No one said. No, they thought people were coming in to lease cars. They wanted to lease a car from us. They wanted to. They were like, we wanted to lease. Do you guys lease coffee machines? No, we don't do that. You know, so we finally, after 25 or 30 years, we kind of got people finally figured out. Plus, we spend a lot of time making those clever things in the sign. So we try to get people focused on the business, and that way they understand a little bit more what we do too. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
You raised a very important question, and you hit the nail on the head. Right? People think that, you know what, we have to go to some high-tech conference in downtown to network and meet. So what will happen to the rest of us here in the communities out here? And the answer to your question, what we're hoping for and what we believe in, is exactly what Mark and David did today. If we can create a platform here and a program where experts and leaders like Mark and David can stand up and say, you know what, we are accessible. You can come and ask questions. We'll share our journeys with you. And we'll tell you that, you know what, there's no magical formula for running a business. There's no golden 10 commandments that you'll get somewhere. We went through the whole thing. We got our bullet wounds, and if I remove my shirt, there's still a live bullet wound for me from the morning. Right? So that is what we want to accomplish. And you mentioned, you made a very important point, saying that ask and people are there out there to help you. And look at these two examples. Pam went and said, hey, can you please come and share your story? They said, yes, immediately. Right? Immediately they said, yes, we are here. I will share our stories and we'll help anybody else who wants to start their own businesses and companies. A while back, when I was on a panel at an entrepreneur event, so there was a gentleman who asked me the question, now that the world has become flat and you can start a company anywhere, there's World Wide Web, internet, going back, will you again start this company here, or will you start it anywhere else? Will you start it in India or anywhere else in the world? And I thought about it, and then my answer to that question is, look, in general, people are willing to help you anywhere, but there's something magical about United States of America. And I can talk about it because I have a perspective from outside in. Here, there is something in this ecosystem where if you stand up and then say, look, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I don't know how to do it, I need some help. But I'm serious about this and I'm willing to go for it. The whole ecosystem will stand up and say, tell me what you got and tell me how we can help you. That is the spirit of United States of America. It doesn't exist anywhere else to this extent. Right? And I've seen it so many times. I've seen it in 2002 when I was just me and myself looking into the mirror, saying, you know what, hey. And then I was asking for help. There was a neighbor who registered my company for free. He just came on board and then he said, you know what, hey, come, I'll help you out. And then you need to go to you need to fill this form, you need to do this, and then you have to get your company out. If you ask, they'll come and help. And look at all of us out here. He said, we want to kick off this Krosslink program, and then we want to get feedback from the community. You're here, and we are all out here to help each other. I hope that is the answer to the question. There are 16,700 libraries across the United States. 16,700. Look at this. 16,700 communities across the United States of America can benefit and together stand up and give the answer to the question, saying, look, the communities are out there and communities are helping themselves. That is the goal. And do we have an answer to how we can scale? Our goal is to kickstart at least 10,000 Krosslink chapters across the United States of America by 2025. 10,000, in case you didn't understand my Indian accent. Not 10. 10,000 out of 16,700. And why not? Why not? Because wherever we go, with whichever library we are approaching, they're saying, yes, we want to do it. We want to be part of this. How do we scale? How do we market? How do we let others in a town know that there is this platform out here that you can come? I don't have an answer. We don't have an answer, but we are working towards it. Every step that we take forward, we are able to find an answer to that question. Right? So what's working for us so far? We started a program where we are saying that it needs to have a rhythm. Every month, we are trying to do and organize an event like this, where we'll get experts who have done the businesses to stand up and then say, hey, I've done this, I'll share the story with you. And you know what, you can come and ask me any of the questions and we can have a candid Q&A answer. What you two did today is, you're like the beacons, giving hope to everybody else, saying, hey, you're not a magical angel, you're also a human being and you did it. How did you do it? So it'll give us immense amount of confidence. So we are planning on calling expert speakers. And then every month we want to rotate. The next month's event, we want to get budding entrepreneurs out there who are on the fence, right? Thinking, should I start? Is it a good time or not? To give them a platform to say, come, share your idea. Why are you excited about this? Why do you want to do this? And what's stopping you from taking the next step? And then people who have done this before can give feedback to them saying, hey, you don't have to worry about it, you'll do this. We are calling this an informal bar stool pitch session. And I'm using the word bar stool because I don't want them to shy away, saying, I don't have I didn't think through my whole idea, I don't have the whole business plan yet, so I'm not ready to talk. We just want them to come up here and start talking. Because when they're talking, they're already taking the first step. Right? And they're already, the journey already started. And then there's one more event that's working for us across other libraries is like a case study. Sometimes a fresh entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur might hesitate to share their own problems. Oh my God, I don't know how to do this. But if you give a case study, saying, there is a leasing company here on Route 9, let's say, and then let's say they have the following challenge. What would you do? People are more willing to start brainstorming on that idea. So the model that's slowly panning out is, if Toastmasters is all about improving somebody's communication skills, Krosslink is all about helping people understand the art and science of problem solving. Because as we know, running a business is all about problem solving. Problem solving from a trash can to your next business strategic expansion. It's one after another problem solving. And we want to give local aspiring entrepreneurs exposure to what it takes to solve problems, and courage and determination and confidence and support to do it. I want to reach out to you all and then ask your help to help spread this word. We have next month we have an event again here, and we want to invite other entrepreneurs to come and stand up and say that, you know what, here is a place where I can have access to. Mentioned that you were going for a funeral to reach out to catch people, right? All of us have done that, right? In some way or the other, how can we stalk somebody and then get some 5 minutes time? But the reality is there are people out there who are saying, yes, I'll give you 5 minutes, I'll give you 10 minutes. But this is a platform where they can say, hey, next month at this time, I can expect to find a score expert out here anyways. So let me go and come to this event and chat with you. So how do we get the word out? We are trying to do Twitter, we are trying to do Facebook, we are putting flyers out here. The library platform is helping us, but we need your help to spread the word. Okay. That is, with your support, I'm 100% confident that this will gain momentum, and there are other libraries around who will say, hey, we want what Southborough is doing. That's it.
So this is the 5th location?
5th location.
Okay. And about how long ago did you get the first one started?
In fact, last October, and exactly last year, last October, Westborough was the first center to start. On October 14th, we are actually having the first anniversary event at Westborough. And the beauty, and please, you have to come and attend it, because during the first kickoff session, there was this lady out there in the audience saying, hey, I'm thinking of starting a wellness center in Westborough, but I don't know where to go because I need a loan. But when I go to a bank, the bank is saying I need a building where I'm going to host it. So then they'll give me a loan. When I go to the building, I don't have a loan. I don't know how to get the building. It's a catch-22. And then Francisco from EDC Westborough, like how EDC is out here standing saying, you know what, we are here to help. He stood up and he said, hey, wait a minute. You should be talking to, I forgot his name, Steve, the town manager, because he has access to some of the buildings. And fast forward 8 months, she found the building, she found the bank to fund, and her business is up and running, and she's about to kick off her wellness center. And she'll be the keynote speaker, saying, because I came to a networking event like this, and I was able to make quick connections, right? And we were sitting there thinking, yes, that is Krosslink. That is Krosslink, right? Where you can quickly say, hey, you should go and talk to Mark. He knows how to improve your speaking abilities and what he went through. If you want to learn about pivot, talk to him, the master of pivot.
Is that Diane Murphy?
Linda Townsend. Linda. So like this, we saw so many examples of people saying, you know what, hey, I didn't know how to do that. And when people are like, EDC? Oh my God, EDC will do this? EDC, he's a hidden gem. People don't know. Half of Southborough probably don't know that, you know what, they don't know that EDC is there and what Pam can do. If you reach out and say, hey, I don't know, at least she'll point to the right person. We want to get the word out. We want to help people connect with other people. You don't need to go to a high-tech conference or high-tech networking event in some fancy place with fancy wine and beer, where people with suits and ties are hanging out. You know, you'll feel scared to talk to this man if he has a martini in his hand in a networking event. But if he's sitting here saying, hey, I'm here, and I'll share my story, he's more approachable. So that is the goal of Krosslink. So thank you so much. We need your help. We'll pester you till we get what we want, because we need all of you to join forces and help us in this movement.
So we'll do the drawings real quick. And this was also for people who are starting a company. This is a great way to collect business cards. What you didn't realize what I just did is I just collected all your business cards. And all it cost me is a couple pair of magic cards.
Drum roll, right?
So when I do like 2 events with 200, 300 people, it's a lot of cards, right? So it's just a free.
No, I insist.
She threw a card in there, so I know she wants one.
All right, let's see.
David McKay.
The fix is in.
Wow. See, the EDC is magic, right?
I think you should pull another one.
Can you pick that? Weird too.
Forrest.
Forrest Musselman.
That's me.
Here we go.
Okay.
Mind Blower Creative, Mind Brew Creative.
Yes.
Web design, marketing,
You guys talked
SEO,
about,
social media.
I liked what you guys had to say about the website, some branding and logos. It was good. It's a pitch for me.
Okay, so a pitch for, I'm sorry, you got your name on the backside. Pitch for Forrest.
Okay.
So if you don't have your website, come talk to Forrest. Sweet.
Is it
All right.
mindbrew.com?
Mindbrewcreative.com.
Thank you.
I
You know your-
would like to know what SCORE does, because I wonder how many people do know. You know, SCORE started 50 years ago. It used to be called Service Corps of Retired Executives, but it's no longer called that anymore. It's SCORE for the life of your business. There's 12,000 people nationally who volunteer. We volunteer our time to help anyone who's thinking about starting a business, someone who's starting a business, or someone who's in a small business, to help them through the process of getting in business and staying in business. The Boston chapter is one of the best in New England, and Worcester is an excellent one as well. There's 55 people in Boston, and we come out to Southborough. Westborough houses part of the Worcester chapter, and between the two of us, there's 85 people like myself who volunteer our time to help anybody to build a business, to start a business, to do all the things that Mark and Dave were talking about. You know, for those people who don't really know exactly how to get going, how to do a business plan, what kind of things to do. I mean, my background was I was in sales management, marketing management, general management with Procter & Gamble, Playtex, and Hanes in the apparel business. So I've been a sales coach, I've been a marketing manager, I've been all that kind of, and basically we just spend our time, we volunteer our time. It never costs anyone. I've been seeing some people for 5 and 6 years, and they're all in business at this point, just periodically brainstorming with them the questions like what went wrong, what kind of things can happen, and how can we help. So I communicate with people all the time via email, by phone, by face-to-face messages, and there's 55 from Boston who do it, and there's 35 people out of Worcester who do it. We're all around, and we all want to help anyone who doesn't have maybe the foundation, who doesn't have a business plan but's thinking about it, who wants to bounce ideas off. You don't have to have too much other than some basic ideas to come and say, like, do you think this might work? Do you think, this? What do you think of this? Or to say, here's a kind of a preliminary plan. What do you think of this? We've got people who are CFOs, CEOs, who are high-tech people. We've got a restaurateur guy who's the head of the restaurateur business in Massachusetts for years. We've got people who own small businesses of all type. They're all on staff, and we all volunteer our time, a day or 2 or 3 days a week, in order to help people help themselves. I like to say we don't do anything except we help people help themselves with the breadth of our experience. And so we're always ready to do it. In Southborough, there's an email address, score.southborough, spelled out O-U-G-H, @gmail.com. And you could go to there to ask for an appointment. We're listed in the Southborough Town Hall. And I'm going to leave some cards up here in case some of my email's on this. So if someone wants to contact me, or if you want them afterwards, I'll be around. If you want to chat about it, then we just want to help anybody who's trying to get a business going, or who's in business and is struggling. And so that's what we do. So.
And here's a question that nobody asks, but it's behind the mind, and that is the best part of SCORE: free. Yeah, free. So many folks are actually amazed where people will slowly go to
And
me afterwards saying,
confidential.
how much do you charge? It's free.
Yeah.
That is.
The only thing, we've got some startup seminars that are like $40 or so for that, if you want that. But we've also got our website, score.org, has a wealth of information, all kinds of online webinars where you can go see about marketing, about website development, about funding, about everything you can imagine. And just sign in with your email, and then that whole thing is yours. But the best part is actually when you take your individual dream or plan or thought and bring that to us, and we'll brainstorm one-on-one or two-on-one or three-on-one, whatever it takes. If you come and see me about marketing, that's one thing, or sales. If you need financial help, I'm going to get you someone else. If you need other kind of help, that's what we do. So you know, people who spend 2 or 3 days a week volunteering to help other people is a good group of people. And and so I feel proud of my compatriots, and as I said, we're here to help. So if you need help, you got a place to go.
Excellent. Thank you.